The greatest vulnerability you possess is not a lack of knowledge, it is the belief that your knowledge protects you. We're conditioned to think that intelligence is a shield. We assume that the more we know, the harder we are to deceive. But in the world of high-level psychological influence, the opposite is often true. High intelligence does not protect you from being manipulated. It provides the very tools a manipulator needs to bypass your defenses. This is the paradox of the analytical mind. The very thing you think makes you invulnerable is exactly what makes you predictable. Intelligence creates a specific type of overconfidence. This is not the loud, boastful arrogance of a fool. It is a quiet, settled trust in one's own judgment. When a highly analytical person enters a conversation, they believe they are observing the dynamics in real time. They are scanning for fallacies. They are looking for inconsistencies. They are essentially building a fortress of logic around themselves. But while they are busy reinforcing the walls, they rarely notice that the ground they are standing on is being moved. Confidence in one's intellect often lowers psychological defenses. Because you believe you can spot a scam or a lie, you stop looking for the subtler signals of emotional steering. You stop questioning your own reactions because you assume those reactions are based on evidence. In the mind of a smart person, the thought is simple. If I were being manipulated, I would see it. This thought is the manipulator's greatest ally. It creates a blind spot large enough to hide an entire agenda. Intelligence is a double-edged sword, and if you don't know how to handle it, you will eventually cut yourself. Smart people trust logic too much. They operate under the assumption that the world runs on rational sequences. If A leads to B and B leads to C, then the conclusion must be true. Manipulators understand this. They don't use bad logic. They use partial logic. They provide facts that are technically true, but framed in a way that leads to a false conclusion. They provide the premises and let your own intelligent mind do the work for them of connecting the dots for them. This usually happens when a manipulator frames the entire context of a discussion. If someone controls the boundaries of what you are allowed to debate, they already control the ultimate outcome. A highly analytical person will get so caught up in winning the argument within those boundaries that they forget to ask who set the boundaries in the first place. They stay inside the logic game. They focus on being right about the details while losing the war for the narrative. At this moment, the thought inside the smart person's mind is focused on the data. They are thinking about how to disprove a specific point. They aren't thinking about why the other person wanted them to have that specific argument to begin with. One of the most effective ways to compromise a smart person is to weaponize their need to be right. For an intelligent individual, being wrong feels like a personal failure. It is an itch that must be scratched. A skilled manipulator will intentionally introduce small, obvious errors into a conversation. They might misquote a study or misinterpret a concept that they know the smart person understands deeply. The urge to correct becomes a physical necessity. The smart person intervenes. They explain the nuance. They provide the correction. In doing so, they have unknowingly handed over the lead in the interaction. They are now the teacher, and the manipulator is the student. By taking on the role of the teacher, the smart person has accepted a frame of helpfulness and investment. They are now working to ensure the other person understands. They have moved from a position of objective observation to a position of active participation in the manipulator's education. Correcting someone pulls you deeper into their world. You think you are winning a debate, but you are actually being recruited into a performance. This leads into a more sophisticated trap, flattery disguised as debate. Most smart people are immune to basic compliments. They can see through a fake smile or a generic "you're so smart," but they are highly susceptible to intellectual validation. A manipulator will pretend to challenge them.
They will play the role of a worthy adversary who is just trying to understand the smart person's brilliant perspective. They use phrases that signal respect for the other person's cognitive depth. They might say they've never looked at it that way before, or that they find the smart person's reasoning fascinating. This creates a powerful emotional bond. It feels like a meeting of the minds. The smart person feels seen and respected. In this state, they begin to over-explain. They share more than they should. They reveal their values, their doubts, and their underlying logic. They think they are having a high-level discussion. In reality, they are providing a map of their own mind. Over-explaining is one of the most common ways power is drained from an intelligent person. There is a desire to be understood and a desire for clarity. A smart person wants to be precise. They want to leave no room for ambiguity. But in the realm of social power, clarity is often the opposite of control. Silence holds power. Ambiguity holds power. When you explain yourself in exhaustive detail, you are giving away your leverage. You are showing exactly how you think, what you fear, and where your boundaries are. You think you are creating understanding. The manipulator thinks you are providing a manual on how to handle you. The ego often hijacks intelligence instead of shutting it down. When an intelligent person feels their ego is threatened, they don't stop being smart. They use their intelligence to rationalize their emotional reactions. They create complex, sophisticated reasons for why they are doing something that is clearly against their best interest. They use their vast vocabulary and their knowledge of psychology to explain away the red flags. Manipulators use subtle linguistic cages to trigger this. They use phrases like, "I know you're someone who values nuance," or "an analytical mind like yours will see why this is necessary." These are not just compliments, they are traps. If you disagree, you're admitting that you don't have nuance or that you aren't being analytical. Your ego refuses to let you be the dumb person in the room, so you agree to a premise you should have rejected. You are forced to perform the intelligence the manipulator has assigned to you. Perhaps the most dangerous technique is the mirroring of intelligence. We are told to watch out for people who are different from us, but we are rarely told to watch out for those who are the same. A manipulator who is targeting a smart person will mirror their vocabulary, their skepticism, and even their reasoning style. They will pretend to have the same intellectual curiosities. They will ask the same types of deep, probing questions. This creates an immediate sense of trust. We trust people who process the world the way we do. We assume that if someone thinks like us, they must have the same integrity as we do. This is a massive leap of logic that smart people make every day. They see a reflection of their own brilliance and assume it is accompanied by their own values. Trust forms through similarity, not through merit. If someone can simulate your thought process, they can lead you anywhere they want you to go. The realization is often jarring. You are not being manipulated because you are weak. You are being manipulated because your mind is a high-speed engine and someone else has figured out how to get their hands on the steering wheel. Your speed doesn't matter if you aren't the one driving. So how do you protect a mind that is designed to analyze everything? The first step is to recognize that intelligence is a tool, not a shield. It is something you use, not something you are. You must learn the power of strategic silence. When you feel the urge to correct someone, pause.
Ask yourself what happens if you let them stay wrong. Usually, the answer is nothing. By remaining silent, you keep your cards close to your chest. You stop the information leak. You remain an observer rather than a participant. Speaking less doesn't mean you know less. It means you are in more control of what you reveal. Second, you must learn to watch the why instead of the what. Intelligent people get distracted by the content of an argument. They focus on the facts and the data. You must train yourself to ignore the words and look at the intent. Why is this person saying this to me right now? Why are they choosing this specific frame? Why are they trying to get me to agree with this specific point?
When you shift your focus from the logic to the motive, the manipulation becomes visible. It's like seeing the wires on a puppet. Once you see the wires, the play is no longer convincing. Finally,